Hello, hello. Is that Father Massey?
Good morning. Yes, who is this?
It's uh, it's Mr. Mullins again.
Yes, Mr. Mullins. Yes. How are you?
Not too good really. I'm still suffering with that doll and the thing that's possessing it and causing harm to everybody in the house.
Well, like I've told you, Mr. Mullins, we are all very terribly busy at the moment, and you are on the list for an exorcism. It's just that none of us can fit it in at the moment.
Well, with all due respect, Father, it's been 12 years. I've waited all this time for an exorcism. My wife nearly died last time, and now she won't leave the room.
I know, Mr. Mullins, I know, but I cannot, I've told you before, I cannot alter the order of the list. I have absolutely no influence over who is seen and when. But perhaps a donation might help your chances.
I have donated. I've donated many, many, many times over the years. Over the 12 years, I've donated all of my life savings. I've got absolutely nothing left to give you. I've given everything to the church, and there's still no exorcism has taken place. Like, how long does it take to get an exorcism?
Well, if you're struggling for a donation, we do have 6 young women here who are looking for a new place to stay. Someone who is kind enough to open up their hearts and take them in, feed them, give them a place to stay, look after them, nurture them. A bit like a father, really. So if you're willing to do that, perhaps that will serve in lieu of a donation. And I'm sure that if you agreed to take these young women in, I could have a word and try and get you bumped up the list.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea bringing like more people into this house, especially 6 young girls in here. I mean, I've got a demon in a poorly constructed religious prison just waiting to come out. And what happens if it gets loose? Like, what could happen there? One of them could be killed next. I can't have them here.
Take it or leave it, Mr. Mullins. That is the offer, and the choice is yours.
Okay, fine, I'll take them. But you promise to help us out this time, right? You promise this time.
I will do my best. Goodbye, Mr. Mullins. Goodbye. Goodbye. God be with you. Goodbye. Sucker! My doll's possessed. My wife nearly died. Girls, pack up your things. I finally found someone to take you in. Come on, let's go.
So, Annabelle Creation is a movie released in 2017 starring Anthony LaPaglia, Miranda Otto, Stephanie Sigman, and Talitha Eliana Bateman, and directed by David F. Sandberg. Now, this movie is a prequel to the 2014 movie Annabelle, and both of those are also spin off movies from the original Conjuring movies as well. And like I said in the previous review with Annabelle, that movie does very nicely or does very good things in being able to tie itself into the main Conjuring universe. And this movie also does that very well too. And it seems to be a theme or a trend that's across all of the spin off movies going back into the main Conjuring universe. Now, the story revolves around a doll maker played by Anthony LaPaglia, who is the person who did create Annabelle, the doll that we've been introduced to in the Conjuring movies and also the previous movie too. Um, we do follow his story at the very beginning where there's an accident that happens that causes his daughter to be killed, who is named B, which turns out to be short for Annabelle. And 12 years later is when we get the main part of this story. Now, after 12 years, the couple, Miranda Otto and Anthony LaPaglia, have never really gotten over the loss of their daughter, which is quite understandable given the circumstances. So, what they do is they open their home up to 6 young women, one of which is plagued by the after effects of a polio infection, causing her to be sort of on a walking stick and unable really to move as easily as the others, and is quite clearly an outcast from the others. Her name is Janice. And we do see that she is outcast from the others. She is subject to some bullying from the other girls, mainly the older ones. And almost because of her disability, she is a vulnerable target. Now, the bedroom that belongs to the young girl that was killed, to be, is locked off, and there's no access at all allowed by the girls into that bedroom. One night, Janice does end up inside that bedroom because the door's open and she discovers the Annabelle doll. And things then start happening. Strange things start happening around the house. And it leaves the kids sort of quite terrified, as you would expect. It then results in more and more things happening, and we finally get the backstory as to how the couple have ended up in this position. It's all explained by Miranda Otto, who does sort of say that after the loss of their daughter, they started to hear things going on in the house and thought it was the spirit of her daughter trying to make contact with them. It gave them a sense of peace, the fact they had part of her still there in the house, and then they received a request from what they thought was her daughter or their daughter to possess the doll. It's all a story we've heard before. We know exactly where this is going to end, and oddly enough, it isn't Annabelle at all. It is a demon looking to get permission to possess the doll as a conduit into the world to then be able to harvest a soul. They do manage to catch onto it, albeit very late on, and drastic steps are taken where they then end up locking the doll into a room which is coated with wallpaper made of Bible verses. The priest comes in, blesses it, and they contain the threat inside that room. Unfortunately, however, everything's all been reawakened upon the girl's arrival inside the house, and it results in Janice essentially coming to another accident, which leaves her in a wheelchair. And then once there, she's completely vulnerable. She gets possessed, and it's then she starts going after the rest of the household. Ultimately, at the very end, you see that she escapes the room. That's they've managed to sort of build a perfect prison. She manages to escape out of it, and we then see where this all ties in with the main or the previous movie, and that is very clever. And I would say perhaps the best part of this movie. A few months pass, and what we see is the neighbours, the Higgins family from the first Annabelle movie, go to an orphanage where they go to adopt a child. We see Janice is there, but instead of her name being Janice, she has changed the name to Annabelle. That's where it nicely fits in, and is something that I was really annoyed about until that happened. But so she ends up in the house there. It turns out she is Annabelle Higgins, the person from the first movie, the woman from the first movie who joined the satanic cult. You see a different perspective of the murder of her parents, which is absolutely fantastic. And then it then sort of leads into the rest of the original Annabelle movie just to complete that tie-in with that part of it and that whole wider story. And that ending is absolutely superb. And to be fair, actually saves this movie. Now, there are some very good scenes in this movie, in particular, some of the techniques they use to sort of show the haunting taking place. One scene that comes to mind quite quickly is the scene where Janice first sort of comes into contact with the fact there are ghosts in the house. There's a figure that looks like one of the other girls that she's living there with a bedsheet over their head, walking towards her, and all of a sudden it collapses and there's nothing there. That is awesome. I do like that. And then there's also a little bit of a tease at very early in the movie where some of the older girls pretend that the scarecrow's come to life and they're questioning it, and it's a bit of a role play exercise. Later on, when they're trying to get away from possessed Janice, the headlights in the car they're trying to get away in is flashing on and off, and in the flashes you see the scarecrow start to move, and that it starts off with the scarecrow motionless, but you know something's coming, but nothing does until you get the slight twitches and the slight head movements, and then all of a sudden it disappears. That is fantastic, and that is something that type of scaring technique is something that is prevalent in all of the other movies, including The Conjuring. The other cool tie-in as well is the possession itself, where the ghost or the demon sort of almost vomits black blood, whatever it is, into the mouth of the person they're possessing. Very similar to the original Conjuring movie where the mum is possessed by the demon. And that is all, it's just really good to sort of see that, because it just builds up that lore. It builds up that that's how everything does happen, and adds that, again, it just ties in really nicely with the wider universe. And I really do appreciate when things do happen like that in the spin-offs as well. And the possession is good, but the issue that you have with that possession is the previous Annabelle film was very good in the fact that it just drew you into that suspense being built, and then it just kept building it and building it and building it until suddenly the scare happened. But the suspense was so high that you couldn't suddenly then just bring yourself back down again. It stayed with you. With the possession of this movie, you go from a threat
which could be anywhere, any point, to all of a sudden it then having a face and a name attached to it in the form of Janice. So if Janice isn't around you, you know full well that you're all right. You've got a little bit of leeway, a bit of space. When it was faceless and it didn't have anything attached to it, you never felt that safe. You never felt as though you were away from it. You always felt as though it was just right behind you, and it lost that edge a little bit when it went down that route. And the other thing as well is that it does build suspense in this movie, but it is lost. It's not as good as the previous one because it does cut away far too quickly to show the impact on the character rather than drawing the audience into it. If it had I mean, there's a scene in particular where there's another girl that's playing with a toy gun where the ball shoots out and she reels it in, and as she's reeling the ball in, the ball gets caught on something and it raises up as if someone's got hold of it and standing up with it and then pulls it away. And rather than just focusing in on the very dark black corridor or doorway in which this gun has just been pulled into, it just focuses onto the girl getting into bed and her looking down, and then cutting back to her reaction, hearing footsteps in the room and her looking down and following the footsteps into the bunk under her bed, and but then nothing. It's just then her looking back over the side, seeing the doll, then sitting back, and then it just gets to morning, and there's no time for it to breathe. And this movie is longer than the previous Annabelle movie as well, and that is a bit of its downfall. It doesn't spend enough time drawing out that suspense, but at the same time it just tries to fill in more plot points in there, like the girls bullying some of the other girls, or the older girls bullying some of the other girls, to really bring home that whole idea of Janice, sorry, being an outcast, when realistically that point was made from her being on crutches anyway. There are a few cheap scares brought into this as well, which does sort of undermine that vibe of The Conjuring that it has all brought together. And I mean, Annabelle followed that theme of the Conjuring movies very nicely, and this seems to have strayed slightly away from that. And for that reason, I'm taking a little bit off of that. But I still think overall this is a solid movie, and one that I very much do enjoy just because of how well it does tie in with the wider Conjuring universe. So overall, I'm going to give it 3 stars. So that's my review of Annabelle Creation. Have you guys seen it? What did you guys think about it? Whatever you thought, please pop it in the comment section below. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I will be back with another entry into the Conjuring universe. But until then, you guys take it easy, and I'll catch you on the next one.